Growing up, I never was a huge fan of change and stepping away from normalcy. I liked comfortability and I feared that being taken away from me. I remember crying almost every night when I went to sleepaway camp in the 7th grade because I felt alone and was so terrified to face the unknown. I couldn't call my mom where she could reassure me that all was okay and I would have fun and all I needed to do was to open up to the idea of being away from home. Eventually, by the end of the week, it was one of the best experiences I've had and I treasure all the memories and friends I made during that week. Why the story matters is because I essentially had to relive the fear of the unknown and dread of leaving normalcy during the summer of 2019. I had known this day was going to come for a year, but I did what I like to do with all my problems. I ignore them. And that's exactly what I did all summer, avoiding the unavoidable and enjoying living in the moment and making the most of that summer. Until my last week home, when I had no choice but to face reality. This last week was spent saying goodbye to friends, coworkers, and my hometown. Although I knew none of my goodbyes were permanent, it still broke my heart to do it every time. That night before the big day, I remember my mom and I going around my hometown to some of my favorite spots. We took a walk in the park, went out to eat some of my favorite restaurant, and had a mini spa day. That evening, my mom made my favorite dinner, and we talked about the following day. The morning of, I woke up with butterflies in my stomach. The day had come, and I could no longer ignore it. We got in our rental car and packed it up with all of my stuff, and we were on the road. The car ride was filled with so much joy and laughter that I forgot that sad feeling I felt. My family and I finally arrived at the TED around noon, where I picked up my keys and finally arrived in my dorm. Met my roommates for the first time and unfortunately saw my new terrible living situation. We left my dorm to enjoy some of the festivities happening on campus and explore the area. As the day progressed, that feeling in my stomach grew worse and worse, but I was adamant about not letting that feeling ruining these moments. We eventually went to Walmart to pick up anything I realized I wanted or needed now that I officially saw my dorm. The final festivity of the day was the complimentary meal provided by the school and the TED. I wish I didn't lose my appetite because it was honestly one of the better meals I've had at school so far. My mom and brother dropped me off at my dorm, and at this point, I knew I had to face my worst goodbye thus far. I started tearing up as I hugged my mom and brother goodbye. I stood alone in my dorm as I watched my family walk away. I was officially alone, hours from home, with no choice but to accept the change. But as my 7th grade self did, I picked up the pieces and tried to make a normal in a new location. Luckily, I had 2 friends from my hometown that made the change easier, and I began calling my mom all the time. Only 2 weeks in, and I had found solace in the change and was happy being on campus. Until COVID came and snatched it away. But now I know the next time I step on campus for my junior year, there will be no tears, only excitement and happiness.